Everyone is here. I'm here. You are here. Welcome to Crypto Malta. And welcome to Bitcoin versus banks. Welcome to David versus Goliath. Welcome to good versus evil. It is up to you to fill in the dots who's evil and who's good here. We are going to talk about banks today and Bitcoin. But what it really comes down to is that blockchain technology is a technology that fundamentally enables trustful interactions where there is no trust. You can either choose to trust a person or a paper, or you can choose to trust the laws of mathematics. Which one do you trust more? Math or a paper? Again, it's up to you really, but fundamentally Bitcoin uses this technology to create a trustless electronic payment system. That is the magic of Bitcoin, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Because if you don't have Bitcoin, you will be reliant on fiat. Do you all know what fiat is? Who knows what fiat is?
Old money, real money.
That's right. Shit money. Okay, let's not go there yet, but very soon. The problem with fiat is that fiat is a paper-based promise. Fiat is issued by central banks, and without getting too political here, the problem is that central bank must be trusted not to dilute this paper money. That is different with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can never be diluted. It is based, again, on mathematics and not on paper. Now, before you getting too excited about the topic of tonight, I have some very boring housekeeping to make, but I'm gonna do it because that's what I do every week. Now, my name is Ferris, and I'm a blockchain evangelist. That means I love to talk about blockchain technology a lot. We are Crypto Hub Malta. Crypto Hub Malta is a blockchain native community here in Malta to share and learn about blockchain technology. Now, if you want to see me smile, you gotta check out our website, cryptohubmalta.org, or you're gonna give us a like on meetup.com or any other social media channel where we are. That is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You are almost 50 people here. We have 28 followers on Twitter. Jesus Christ! If you really want to support us, this doesn't cost anything. Go to the Telegram group. There's a QR code you can scan and join it. Like us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, like us on meetup.com. It is really what it's all about. And of course, it's about the volunteers that are here to support us. I just saw one of the volunteers enter the room. MJ, glad that you're here. Because MJ wanted to take some pictures and we didn't have a photographer for tonight. Good that you're here, MJ. Camera is ready for you. There's another announcement that I want to make, because next week is going to be a special event. Normally, we talk about blockchain technology every Wednesday. We are a non-profit community, that means these events are for free. Next week, we have a collaboration with another community. They are called Connectionville. And we are going to talk about AI. We are calling this Tech Connect. Now, there will be a ticket price for Tech Connect. But lucky for all of you is that all the volunteers, all the participants of Crypto Hub Malta, they get VIP access for free. So if you want to join Tech Connect next week, come to me, give me your name or your Telegram handle, and we are going to put you on the VIP list so you can always join for free if you're part of Crypto Hub. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wanted to continue a little bit with the introduction that I was giving about the difficulties between Bitcoin and banks, and this is another explanation for what is happening. It's the interaction of liquidity and the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. Now, have you heard about the 4-year cycle before? Yes or no? Yes. Most people have. So, if you have, you are going to be very excited because the Bitcoin halving is happening in April. That means the block rewards issued by the Bitcoin blockchain is reduced by 50%. And that means Bitcoin normally goes up and the rest of the crypto space goes up. But also, there's a funny interaction and correlation between the global liquidity that happens to change all the time. So, we don't really know what came first, Bitcoin or this liquidity cycle, but there is an interaction, and maybe we're going to talk about it later. But what I really wanted to say is, the old saying that hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times, and good men create bad times. And that also goes with Bitcoin in the crypto cycle, because in our space, hard times create airdrops. And airdrops create good times because you get an airdrop. But good times create Ponzi's, and Ponzi's, they create hard times. So this is also part of the 4-year cycle that we have in Bitcoin. And with that, I leave it to our main speaker tonight, who's going to talk about Bitcoin versus banks. Now, Antonio is by profession a lawyer. He lives in Malta, but he's not Maltese. He's from Macedonia. He's been telling me many times that he's not Greek, definitely not Greek, not related to Greece. But he's actually the biggest blockchain influencer of Macedonia. All his content is in Macedonian, and I've been begging him week after week, please come, join us at Crypto Hub, speak English, and share your knowledge. And that's what he's going to do tonight. Thank you very much for that. Everyone, a round of applause.
Now, if I've been introduced, I can imagine some of these faces are already familiar. I've been doing this before once, hopefully maybe some other time as well afterwards. Now, most of you, I can imagine, know these basic things. Banks and Bitcoin, this is something more or less everybody knows, especially banks, let's be honest. I have started my career as a financial lawyer. I've been working for banks, the 2 biggest banks in Macedonia, and I know what they're capable of. So, this is not that I have something against them, but in general, I think that the whole world should have. Now, I know you, and most of you understand why I'm saying this, but let's get there. Anyway, the idea of today's presentation is to actually make, to explain why the old technology has a problem with the new technology. This is not something new. We have seen this in so many examples. Take Netflix, take, I don't know, Airbnb, all these interruptive technologies, they have actually came and brought the previous technology down. But the problem is that if you take the email, for example, the opponent of the email is who? The post. What the post is going to do? Tell you not to send emails. The problem in Bitcoin is that they have one of the hardest opponents in the field, which is the banks, right? We all know how that functions. Now, what we need to explain at the beginning, I can imagine most of you know, is how an actual blockchain works. The basic definition is that blockchain technology is an advanced database mechanism that allows transparent information sharing within a business network. A blockchain database stores data in blocks that are linked together in a chain. Now, this is just the basic information, but if you want to actually explain it nicely, this is how it looks like. Let's say that I want to send a transaction to the gentleman over here in the first row. Not that I'm going to send one, but anyway. So, I am A, Antonio, and this is gentleman B. I can imagine it's not your name, B, but still, you understand my point. Now, if I want to send something, I can do it through the blockchain, which means that my transaction, together with a lot of other transactions, will be connected in this block. That's the second, practically second picture that you're seeing on the step-by-step procedure. This block contains a lot of transactions, which later on are sent to this network of computers, and the network of computers actually is confirming that all the transactions of the block is as it's supposed to be. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible because some of you maybe first time see this kind of a presentation or this kind of a technology. And once all the participants in the network confirm it, it becomes part of an actual chain. So this block is written, all the transactions are finalized, and the person B, the gentleman in the first row, gets what I've been sending to him, right? So this is the finalization, and the transaction is done. Now, the problem in this situation is that this is the second part, right? So this is how it is right now with this technology. It's as easy as it gets. Plus, you don't need to worry about the bank or the third-party provider of the transactions between the banks. You don't need to worry about anything. Why? Because this is a party that you don't need to trust. As it has been said at the beginning of the presentation, We're talking about a network of computers that you don't need to worry. All these participants in the network are confirming the transaction, which means it's legal. So you don't need to worry. In the other situation, except for the fact that you need to trust this, let's say, first bank, second bank, because you are sending from one person to another, and every person has a different bank, you also need to trust the third-party providers, like Visa, American Express, MasterCard, right? The ones that are actually transferring the actual, let's say, capital from one person to another. And on top of that, all these participants are taking part of the fee, which means it makes it a lot more expensive than it's going to be with an actual Bitcoin transaction, right? So, another thing is, at one point, they say, you know what, we don't work with those banks in that country, right? So, for some reason, we took them out of SWIFT. Now you cannot send, right? There is no other way to do it, that's it. The banks stopped working between these two countries, and you're done, you cannot send anything. Another thing is, let's say you want to send some bigger amount, right? Then they're going to start asking, give me, where is this capital coming from? Can you provide these documents? How did you make it? Why are you sending it to him, right? Bitcoin doesn't care. You have a fee. The fee is what you need to pay. Most of the time, the fee is like, if you take, for example, right now, the Lightning Network, which is the second layer made on Bitcoin to make the transactions a lot faster, a lot cheaper, is 1,000 times cheaper than a transaction on Visa. You can check this, it's public information. Now, as part of that, Bitcoin doesn't care who is the other person. He doesn't care who is the first person. For him, this is just a code. So you're transferring capital from one to another person. Bitcoin doesn't care. He doesn't discriminate. He's not saying, I'm not working with this country. I'm not working with these people, right? So that's the best part about Bitcoin. He doesn't discriminate. He doesn't care. As long as the fee is paid, the transaction goes from one to another person, period. Now we're going to get into a little bit later about the actual way right now the banks and the countries are, let's say, putting blocks on these kind of transactions, but that's for the later part of the transaction. For now, for you need to understand that Bitcoin is a lot faster, is a lot cheaper, and you do not need to worry about documentation, you don't need to worry about if this person on the other side can actually receive this. And if you compare this to the banks, today, still there is, for some of those transactions, a waiting time of 1 week. Believe it or not, I can imagine some of you already done it. When you're sending from one side of the world to the other, sometimes you need to wait for a full week for all this administration to provide, everything that is needed to be done until finally somebody receives the money on the other side, which is ridiculous in 21st century, right? Now, if you see over here, these are practically all the major downturns of the society since 1785. Now, we're not going to go and explain them, just I wanted to show you that most of these, as you can see over here, 10 practically, except for the dot-com bubble, are done either by bad policies and, let's say, bad working of a government, or by actual, again, working completely against laws, completely against logic by the banks. So we're not going to go into all of them. Obviously, you can check. These are actual facts. But technology never made this kind of a problem. Because of technology, never, let's say, a country failed or a financial system failed, except for the dot-com bubble. Again, we know why it happened. People were investing in, I don't know, pet websites. Sorry about that, but it happened, right? But still, this is practically what he was saying. This is when it becomes too popular, we're coming to a point where people are throwing money at everything, like, I don't know, Bonk or Shiba, right? Anyway. So, when we're getting to the next point, I just want to take two of these. So, we're going to pay attention to the 2008 and to the 2023 financial crisis, because they're extremely important about what I'm going to explain. Now, the banks and the governments, it's a given. They're best friends. One does not work without the other, because they literally wash each other's hands. Why am I saying this? Have you ever heard countries say, this post office is too important, we're not going to let it go down, right? Or this company is too important, we're not going to let it bankrupt, right? But you have seen and you've heard this so many times about the banks, right? Right now, in America, there is a saying, too big to fail. Can you imagine? There is a saying only for banks, too big to fail. I've never heard a company, it's too big to fail, we cannot let this company fail, right? But why the banks? Now, 2008, I can imagine most of you remember. Some of us were actually very young, but still, it's quite famous, right? We're talking about a collapse of more than 100 banks in America from 2008 to 2011. This is the top part that you can actually see. Now, why is this important? How they did it and why they did it, we're not going to go into that. The important part is that America paid more than $1 trillion to bail these banks out. Now, some of them still exist, like JP Morgan, but some of them don't, like Lehman Brothers and whatever. If you can see the names, most of them still exist, right? Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Bank of America, and they're still the best, they're still the biggest. Where did you hear that something, any kind of entity, goes bankrupt and then comes to be the biggest bank in the world, like JP Morgan, right? It means somebody is helping him, right? So in this case, you can see how much did America pay to cover all the depositors that were actually included in these kind of banks, which is, let's sum it up, around $1 trillion. But how did they pay this? As he was saying, we're talking about this magical thing called, in our channel, we call it toilet paper in color. So literally, this is toilet paper in color. Why? Because you can produce more of it. Because nobody's stopping you. Exactly what America did. What they did, no problem, we're just going to print out more. But the problem is that you are giving this money back to the creditors because the banks already are too, practically the bank is taking from you and giving to the next person, so it means if you come back to take your money, the money is not there. We all know that the bank works like that. This is like the simplest way I can explain. The problem in this situation is that when a country covers you because you are too greedy and you don't keep enough reserves to actually give back to the people if they come, we're talking about the classical bank run, which means you do not have enough money to cover the depositors that are requesting the money back. So in this case, what America did, they just print out more money to the Federal Reserve, they give it back to the banks, practically they're giving it back to the depositors. But what the depositors don't understand is they're diluting the actual dollar currency, or the green toilet paper. And in this case, practically they're giving from the people back to the people by literally borrowing from the people. They're lowering the paying power of the actual dollar, which is actually yours, right? The country doesn't care, it can print out more. It's not a problem for them if the value of the dollar goes down or the power that you can buy with. So they did this only for the banks. Did you ever hear a $1 trillion bailout for somebody else? No? Now they did it again, 2023, but this was very, on hush-hush. They didn't do it so loud because they did it smart. Now, what happened 2023 that actually, yes, before we go there, in 2008, 2009, there was this group or entity, which is called Satoshi Nakamoto, which said, you know what, enough with these guys. Obviously, they are incoherent, they are doing this, they are literally using the whole population just for them to enrich themselves. So we're going to do something different, and they did who? The Bitcoin, right? Now, 2023 actually was the second round in which Bitcoin literally jumped almost 100% when this happened. What happened? 3 big banks fell down, and somehow they were all on S. Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and Silvergate. So what is the problem here? This is the actual same situation that happened in 2008. Same. Bank was too greedy, gave out too much money, didn't have enough. When the people came back to actually ask for the money back, we had a proper traditional bank run, and then they got very scared because it was going to happen the same as it happened in 2008. Just now they front run it, how they did it. They actually came up with this special program which is called Bank Term Funding Program. They didn't wait for the banks to go collapsing. They just said, you know what, guys, we are going to print and give you money ahead because we know what's going to happen next. If you have a big bank, like Silicon Valley Bank, falling, practically you're getting to the point that if you don't do it now, on this part you can see how big is the Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank, you see? We're talking about extremely big banks, right? So you will have the same effect, just like 2008, 2009. But they did this. They actually borrowed a lot of money since last March to this March. Now, this is when I was doing the presentation, it was $147 billion they borrowed to the banks. Now it's $170 billion just to bail them out because the banks didn't have enough to pay back to the creditors that wanted to take the money out because they were scared. Now, the bottom picture, as you can see, is actually, this is first time in recent history that the deposit of the banks is a lot bigger than the withdrawals. So practically we are coming to the point that people don't want to keep their money in the bank. This line that you see here, where the deposits actually fell down dramatically, which means people are withdrawing a lot of money from the banks, is when Bitcoin went practically 100% up. Because people stopped believing in this legacy system. I mean, we're talking about centuries of lying to us, right? If you see the actual dollar value from 100 years back to now is diluted 99%, which means it lost 99% of their purchasing power. This is because they're just printing and printing and printing, right? So we're coming to a point where this is done by one of the big house, Moody's, which is actually doing like a, their job is practically to check if somebody is solvent, if everything is okay with a certain company, bank, country, and so on. They determined when this happened and when Silicon Valley fell, that there is 186 US banks that are in the same situation like Silicon Valley that will fall if this didn't happen. If the Federal Reserve didn't just print out money and give it back to the banks. Now this is over and over and over, and we're going constantly in circles. And in the meantime, this is the main Hollywood actor of the banking industry, Mr. Jamie Dimon, my favorite, and CEO of JP Morgan. JP Morgan is the biggest bank of the world, like hands down biggest bank. This guy has been going year after year after year against everything that is crypto and especially Bitcoin. 2017, while we have the banking industry borrowing like there is no tomorrow, the US country saying they're too big to fail. Whatever happens, we're going to cover. It's not a problem because we cannot allow this to happen, right? 2017, this guy actually went out on TV and said, I'm going to fire anybody in my bank that I catch trading or owning Bitcoin because of being stupid. On national TV, the biggest banker in the world. 2021, Jamie Dimon, Bitcoin is worthless. 2023, he went on this World Economic Forum, another organization very close to my heart. He said, this is unbelievable what you're believing in. At the end of 21 million, Satoshi Nakamoto will come, will laugh at you, and all the Bitcoin will disappear. This is the knowledge of the bankers that they actually have about the blockchain technology. So we're talking to people that have no clue how technology works these days, but they are still allowed to actually talk about this. That's the worst part. Anyway, 2024, this guy had the guts to go in front of the Senate and say, if I were the government, I would ban crypto first, starting with Bitcoin. And 2 weeks after, the guy actually went to be a PA for the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. Which means that JP Morgan actually makes the actual shares of the Bitcoin spot ETF. This is the two-facedness that we are actually facing in the bank propaganda, right? So this is who you're dealing with. I can imagine this guy is stacking Bitcoin like there is no tomorrow, but at the same time, Bitcoin is the worst thing that you can actually have. And 2 weeks after he said this, he went to be a partner of BlackRock in the Bitcoin spot ETF. So, as I was saying, Bitcoin will do to the banks what Limp Bizkit did to the music industry in the 90s. Who knows? Limp Bizkit knows what I'm talking about. Now, guys, interruptive technology is nothing new. Okay, so we're talking about interruptive technology since the beginning of time. Starting with Wheel and Fire and ending with Netflix and Spotify. Now, why I'm saying this? On the right side, you can see all these previous industries that were actually ruling the world, starting with taxis, hotels, post office, brick and mortar, cable TVs, blah, blah, blah. And all day, actually, first of all, what did they do? You know, this is the standard way it works. First, they ignore you. So how was for Bitcoin? Some guys are sitting in the basement, I don't know, inventing internet money. Then they go against you saying, these guys have no chance to do anything against us. I mean, we own the world, right? It depends. All the industries are doing the same. Then when they see they can actually do nothing, I mean, what you going to do to Bitcoin? Ban it? How are you going to ban it? You're going to ban the internet? So there is no point. You're coming to the point that you have nothing to do except for join the force. Starting with BlackRock, Fidelity, biggest trillion-dollar asset under management companies. So we're getting there. But before we get there, Netflix, look at the 2011 to 2023. What you see is millions of subscribers, which means Netflix doesn't care about the cinemas or the cable TVs. It's going to go on growing because it's an interactive technology. It's better, so it's going to surpass no matter what they do. Same goes for Uber. As you can see, this is in revenue in billions of dollars. So 2018, from 10, they rose to more than $60 billion. Then we go Spotify from 0 to 551 million subscribers from 2011 to 2023, right? Same goes for Airbnb. And most of these industries were saying the same. I have seen personally an interview with Jeff Bezos. You know, Jeff Bezos is the millionaire that owns Amazon. they asked these guys, first of all, does anybody know what's brick and mortar? Exactly. You know? Please, what is it?
It's shops that you find on the street.
Exactly. Exactly. But this was an actual brand. They were everywhere. Like, we're talking everywhere. So they asked these guys on the beginning of Amazon just started, right? So this Jeff Bezos, he still had hair. So he was talking like, oh, this is gonna revolutionize the world, you know, this is like amazing technology. And they asked these guys because they were like, you know, top of the food chain. And some interviewer saying to him, so do you know what's Amazon? He says, who? I mean, this is how much they knew about their competition, right? Now nobody knows who they are, but everybody knows who Amazon is, right? This is the edge that actually getting into this kind of technology, interactive technology gives you. Now, why am I saying this? While the banks in the background are saying to you, no, don't use this, the boogeyman. No, you're going to lose all your money. Let's see what the actual banks do. Now, we're going to start with the biggest. Everybody knows what's SWIFT, right? So, SWIFT is this amazing big messaging system that connects 11,000 financial institutions all over the world, right? So, the job of SWIFT is not actually, they're actually connecting all these financial institutions by this special messaging system and showing them who needs to transfer to who, how much money. These guys are, just for your understanding how big they are. In 1 year, through SWIFT passes $150 trillion through SWIFT transactions. So right now, still, if you're not part of SWIFT, you don't exist, except for Russia, obviously. But the rest of the world, unfortunately, if they switch you off of SWIFT, that's it. You practically don't exist. Because the whole world currently runs on SWIFT still. Now, in the same time, SWIFT said, you know, guys, we're like very behind with technology. We need to go ahead. SWIFT chose only one particular project to cover and to actually, you know, invest in and stand behind. That's Chainlink. That's the biggest Oracle project in the crypto industry. Now, why is it important? Chainlink devised something called CCIP protocol, which right now SWIFT uses. It's already in advanced stage where big banks like Citibank right now completely using it on everyday basis to actually transact through banks and through any kind of blockchain technology, which means they're already using it. Just nobody will come out and say, you know what, guys, we're using blockchain, buy it, fast, right? I mean, the actual, let's say, frontman of SWIFT actually came out and said, we are working with Chainlink, but when was the last time you sat down and read what's the news about SWIFT, right? Let's be honest. You never, right? Now, on the other hand, the same guys, JP Morgan, that are spitting everything crypto, they're using Avalanche, believe it or not. We're talking about a public blockchain, which is amazing, by the way. They're using it, not a financial advice, I have to say this at the beginning, I forgot. So we're not telling you to buy anything.
That was clear.
Exactly, just say, this is one of those times that I'm actually not here to sell you anything, I promise. Now, in this case, the actual JP Morgan has their own blockchain, which is called Onyx. And we're talking about private blockchain, which is not the same thing. It's like the evil twin. And they are not obviously satisfied with their blockchain, since they need to use Avalanche to give the shares to the shareholders for every, let's say, 3 months or however they're doing it. So they're using Avalanche to actually give the shares to their shareholders. Can you imagine how important this is for them, right? We're talking about the shareholders. And in the same time, SBI is the biggest banking corporation in Japan. They're using Ripple for practically over border transfers to Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia. But we're not talking some, we're talking all the transactions that go from this bank to these countries are going via XRP, which means banks and big institutions are already using it. Just they're not going out and saying, you know what, guys, you need to buy this because, you know, it was never going to happen, and we know that, right? Just the problem is that by the time that you hear this in the mass media, you're already too late. Now, at the same time, the same practically SWIFT system is going to be upgraded to ISO 2022. It's a bit, let's say, complicated. What I'm going to say is the upgraded system, if the institutions didn't want crypto, they wouldn't do this, which means ISO 2022 is already implemented in most of the world and is going to be fully implemented in November 2025, which means SWIFT will stop existing and there is going to be this new standard which is called ISO 20022, which will have upgraded messaging system. Why is it important? Because the old messaging system, unfortunately, cannot process anything except for actual toilet paper. Sorry, currencies. And in the same time, the new actual messaging system can process everything, including any kind of CBDCs, and central bank digital currencies. Which means the new messaging system is already equipped to process any kind of blockchain transactions. The only thing that you need to do, as some of the currencies did already, like Ripple, Stellar, we have HBAR, Zinfin. Those are companies that already passed. This is like certain criteria you need to pass, so you can be part of the ISO 20022, which means no matter if the government likes it or not, all the financial institutions can process your blockchain transactions. Forget about the government, it's already part of the financial system. That's what I'm trying to show you. And this is approved by the FATF. We're talking about the largest entity when we're talking about money laundering, right? Which means if you pass this barrier, your actual blockchain is inside the financial system. And we're talking about small timeline, what? 1.5 years until we get to November 2025. In the same time, we have this kind of, let's say, you can see this second part of the picture. Now, Canada, Germany, Brazil, Liechtenstein, Australia, and the Cayman Islands, and these two small islands between France and England, they already approved the Bitcoin spot ETF, which means on any regular exchange, you can actually buy and sell Bitcoin. Practically what they did, they allowed it in the system. There is no going back. The moment this kind of technology comes in and starts being traded on a regular exchange, we're talking about acceptance of the actual technology. Now from here to mass adoption, it's literally just a matter of time. This was the hardest thing to go through. I mean, I'm in this market from 2015, 2016. If you mention then that potentially bank one day will say, you know what, let's use this protocol, it would be funny, people will laugh at your face. Now we're talking about the biggest entities in the world actually adopting this technology. Voila, US SEC approves Bitcoin spot ETF. Who is in this field, they know exactly what I'm talking about. The biggest corporation of the world, BlackRock. Nothing happens in this world without BlackRock actually having a share out of it. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Now, if they decided that this actually technology is good and they need to use it, trust me guys, even if you don't want, you're going to be using it. Now, in the same time, banks and governments came to the point that they actually said, you know what guys, this technology is really great, we need to use it ourselves, right? But, what did they do? They literally cloned Bitcoin into an evil twin, which is called CBDC. It's like a modern version of toilet paper in color, right? Why I'm saying this? Because now they need to go through so many procedures to actually take this money back from the market to lower the inflation, or print this money and put it in the market, right? To actually do whatever they're doing, I don't know. They don't know what they're doing. Now they're doing it in a push of a button, and they're saying to you guys, don't worry, this is great. Leave Bitcoin. That's some kids in the basement, you know. You need to buy our product, CBDC. So practically countries already started doing this. Just unfortunately, if you compare it, Bitcoin has a limited supply of 21 million, as our host said already, right? But the toilet paper in color, which is now called CBDC, rebranding, they will have unlimited supply in a push of a button, which means if now the Federal Reserve needs to give order and this needs to go to a print and then they need to do a quality banknotes and they come on the market, so they need to give it to bank. Now they're just going to do, you know what guys, let's just add to 10 billion. Let's add another 10 billion, right? So if you go down this list, you're going to find that we're talking about a completely evil twin. Why? Bitcoin nobody controls. We're talking about a network of computers. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can own it. We have a network of computers that unfortunately does this network to be immutable. In the same time, CBDC is controlled by one entity. Nothing different, just faster. One entity, either is going to be a central bank or government, same situation. If you go down, we are coming to the point that Bitcoin is, you cannot, how are you going to take my Bitcoin? You need to come with the gun on my head and I'm still not going to give you the trade, right? But in the same time, CBDC is completely owned by one entity, which means that any time they can do whatever they want to your wallet. So most of the people are expecting that the country will go on the street and say, you know what guys, we are going to do CBDC now. No guys. What's going to happen is they're going to phase out cash, which they're right now doing. If you check your countries, because I can imagine most of you are coming from different countries of Europe, all of them have already implemented until what amount you can actually use cash. And most of them have until 1,000 euros, which means slowly, they're going to come to 500, they're going to come to 100, and you're going to come to the point that there is no point for you to carry cash. There is no point. And at the same time, people are thinking they're going to get like some kind of, I don't know, announcement from the bank, oh, you know what, we transferred your money to CBDC. No, guys. For you, the money in the bank account is just a number, which means it's going to be CBDC or not, you're not even going to know, and they're not going to tell you, trust me. You know what you're going to know? Remember Canada? Remember the COVID crisis? You remember these trackers? You're going to know when they don't need to go through Parliament and Congress to bring a law which practically says, you know what, guys, you're doing a protest, you're terrorists. No need, I'm just going to block your account. I'm going to block your wallet. What you're going to do? You cannot buy food. You're going to stop being a protester immediately. So this is where this is going, just giving you a heads up. But this is why we have this last chance called Bitcoin, which is actually a situation where it gives you freedom. And the country, or any country in the world, if they could find a way to stop this, they would have, trust me. They tried everything. Take China, for example. China, you know how they say from 2015 onwards, if China doesn't want to ban Bitcoin, it's not a bull market. Once China bans Bitcoin, then you know you're in a bull market. Then it starts going up. So this is practically how it was before. Trust me, and you're going to get it soon. But now, for sure, somebody else. Now, what I'm going to show you here, it's an actually interesting video. It's a very short 30-second video of the comparison of the technology we're talking about here and the comparison of the technology that is still active somehow. I don't know how, please. What you can see on the top part is actually transport of gold. So they are going like through what? One crossroad for like 30 minutes. And down, as you can see already, they're on the fourth, fifth person of transfer of Bitcoin. They're actually transferring money. No banks, no send me your, let me see your payslip, no who are you sending to, look, it's already 7, 8 person. So while the truck didn't come to the first, let's say, intersection, no matter if it's bringing gold or toilet paper in color, it's the same situation. In the meantime, we have these guys actually transfer like what, 10 times? Okay,
Actually, frankly, crypto, I think, to a much
Sorry
more
about that.
extent, if it
So one question at the end. Do you think that this is acceptable for 21st century? Do you? Like this toilet paper in color or these bricks of flashy rocks? I don't know, guys, about you, but I think that the other one is already know, everybody knows this is going to win. So thank you guys for your attention. I hope I wasn't boring you too much. Thank you. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free.
Yes.
Rock.
Okay.
Awesome, so much fun. So, I have one problem. As you know, I work in this field and this is something that I love. However, if everyone can just send money to anyone, right? I just worry on one thing, like there are a lot of bad players on the market. It's the reality, right? Narco trafficking in South America, for example. I mean, they still are trying to send money, which are very sound, but wouldn't this be a problem 20, 30 years down the line? Like, where is this gonna stop?
The only problem is the actual private blockchains. And those are Monero, Zcash. Those are actual blockchains that completely obscure the track of who is sending to who. If you check the statistic right now, only less than 1% of the, not Bitcoin, all the market cap of all the blockchains in existence, less than 1% of this a vast amount of money and tokens and coins is used for illegal transactions. Why? There are these companies called, they're actually special companies like Chainalysis that track the actual blockchain, which means the blockchain is public, but at the end of the day, it can be tracked. So for example, let's say there were so many hacks in this industry. That's true. But none of these hacks actually made it to somebody's hands. You know why? Because sooner or later you need to use your identity to actually take this money out. And the companies like Chainalysis, they can actually follow all the transactions until it actually comes to a certain person. The moment you touch this money, you're going to end up in jail. If we're talking about illegal money, right? Because the best part about the blockchain is transparent. You can actually see the transactions. That's the difference between CBDC and Bitcoin. You can see all the transactions from the first one in 2009 to the last one now. And in the same time, if you see CBDC, it's going to be completely blank. You cannot see any transactions. The only one that can see this is the actual person or entity that controls it. So any kind of blockchain, you can check, this is again public knowledge. Only less than 1% of the actual money inputted in this kind of technology ends up in the hands of bad players. And for example, Binance, all these big ones, let's say, right? Coinbase, they were right now working in, let's say, they were partners in this kind of situation with American authorities and Israelis, and they got practically all the transactions that went to Hamas. So if this was cash, they could never do it. And on the other hand, cash is used in 99% of the illegal activities. So I think we're safe.
Next question here.
Hello, yes, hi. I'm Danu. Thank you first of all for your beautiful introduction and talk, which really defines yet again the difference between fiat and altcoins. And my take-home message, my repetitive learning was, if you have old money in the bank, it's not really yours, you don't know where it's coming from, where it's stationed, it's not in your hand. Now, I want to disagree a little bit when you have these toilet paper, what you described. You do have it in your hand. It's like a real bill. You have the negative, it's inflation attached, so basically you lose every year 10%. So even if you have like your 10,000 in cash, which is nice because you're liquid, but it doesn't help you in the long run. So I understand, and this is a good advice, no financial advice. It's a good market to buy on a little scale, just some crypto to get into the game because it will go up in the next months. Now, so underlining your point and going to one of the last slides, before I ask my question, just the thing about the gold transport. You said this is not modern anymore when you have big trucks carrying around gold, while you can in the meantime shift around your coins 10 times. Yes and no. Yes, modern times. No, it's another kind of currency. It works different. You have the real money in your hand. If you buy a gold bar, that's serious value. It does not explode or go away like fiat can go, or Bitcoin seriously can also explode into nothing. If you don't have internet, it's gone, basically, right? So if you don't have, but gold is a different story. So I think it has this place here to stay. My question goes to the differentiation between American Bitcoin market, altcoin market, the European market, and how you think you can change it, optimize it, because I believe Americans are way more open, adept, and more into the game than we do because of my reasoning would be we have the 100,000 bank account security in Europe. So if you have your fiat money in the bank and you're afraid of losing it, you still get your 100,000 back. So the urge is not so big to find other strategies to have a long-term investment which is secure and in your pocket. Okay. This is my theory, and maybe you have a smart word for it. Thank you.
So first of all, as you were saying, I try to keep as least as possible toilet paper, just for normal use, toilet and that's it. So you pay rent, it's enough, if you ask me. But again, everybody knows for themselves, right? Now, on the other hand, what you said about the Americans is not true. Over there, the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, is killing crypto. And right now, they want to literally burn Gary Gensler alive for this in the Congress, but unfortunately they cannot. Now, what you were asking me is actually about the difference between Europe and America. I'm trying to understand.
I didn't know, I was speculating. You are much more pro. So if
Okay.
you told me the last information, I have to accept or read?
No. You never accept. You verify. That's the best part about blockchain, right?
So
You
I'm
never
just
accept
accepting
anything.
what
You
you
check. What I'm trying to say is, listen. At the end of the day, cash for now is here to stay, right? But I'm asking you, okay, put it logically and put it chronologically. Now, if you check Lagarde, this is the president of the Central Bank of Europe, right? She came 3 months ago. This is all actually verifiable. You can just go and check, right? She came and she said, guys, don't worry. Cash is here to stay. We're going to give you CBDC, but don't worry, you can use cash. Now, in the same time, you can see videos like a grandpa going in a supermarket in England. He's trying to pay with cash and they say, sorry, we're not accepting. The guy was giving them cash by the actual, not law, we're talking about the constitution. In the constitution of most of these countries, it's still written that cash is actual legal tender. They say to him, I'm sorry, we're not accepting cash, that's it. Or go to ID Malta right now and try to pay in cash about your ID. You know what they're going to say to you? Sorry, only cards. This institution of Malta we're talking, they're not accepting the legal tender, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is...
Illegal. Wouldn't that be illegal? Couldn't you force your way into
Yes, you
the
can.
Malta?
Try.
What the fuck? I pay my
I
money
understand,
in
you are
cash.
right, try.
You have to accept.
I understand the point, but try. You know what I'm going to say to you? Go home to your country. Now, in the same time, what I'm trying to tell you is, unfortunately, they are phasing it out. They are making it for you to. It's not practical for you to carry cash, right? Now the difference for you is very small. I have, for example, Binance debit card. I go pay the same way as I pay with cash. Because whatever I put as a currency right now on the background, it just gets sold in the moment that I'm paying on the market of the actual price in the actual, toilet paper. Sorry about it, but I have to go with it. Sorry. So what I'm trying to tell you is at the end of the day, having cryptocurrencies or having actual cash doesn't change a lot for you. Just they're pushing CBDC. It's not up to us. We're getting there. They're saying, you know what, in Italy, until 1,000 euros, you cannot pay anything more. So what you cannot even pay your rent. If your rent is 1,200, you cannot give 1,200 euros to your landlord. And you know what Lagarde said about that? There was a prank call that was done by these two Russian, let's say, pranksters. They called her saying that you can check this is public information. They were actually talking with her and they're asking her, so what if they pay above 1,000 euros? You know what she said? That's a gray zone. So if we catch you, you go to jail. But she's saying publicly that the cash is actually here to stay. So you understand what I'm trying to tell you? They're pushing you towards CBDC. So you can choose. You either use the money that was from the same people that did this to the financial system. These are people that brought the financial system to this point. And now they're asking you for more rights. So think about it, right?
There's next question here. Quick question, quick answers.
Yes,
Many
yes,
people
sorry,
are looking
sorry.
for financial advice from you.
Of course, guys. Not a financial advice, right?
Okay.
So, great presentation. Let me make this quick. So, CBDC is private, blockchain and Bitcoin is public, right? How would you go around governments having control over centralized exchanges who are the entry points and the exit points of going into Bitcoin, for
Of course,
example?
of course.
So if they have that covered, then you still have the same issue of control to a certain extent.
First of all,
Careful what you say
of
next.
course, of course. First of all, we have decentralized exchanges, which so far cannot be regulated. For example, they said to Uniswap, you have to use KYC. You cannot. How are you going to do it? We're talking about in actual, I'm not transferring anything to Uniswap, right? I'm using from my own wallet. I'm just using Uniswap as a bridge to somebody else's, and I'm just switching the tokens. And it's not only Uniswap. Think about the technology itself. Bitcoin is not about centralized exchanges. Bitcoin is about peer-to-peer, which means I don't need to use this. I am talking to you and I'm saying, guy, just send me your address and I'm going to send you some Bitcoin. I'm not going to send you some Bitcoin, guys. Don't worry. But you understand my point? Which means no government can stop you. No government can say, you know what, this is illegal. What you going to do about it? If I want to send, I'll send. And you know what's the best part? I can send $10 billion to you. The country cannot do anything about it. Try to send 10 billion through a bank account.
Next question.
Yeah, of course.
Hi. So my name is Alex. Hi. Thank you for your presentation. So from what I gather, you're a Bitcoin maximalist. No? Oh, okay. Because you mostly talk about Bitcoin. Okay. All right.
Because Bitcoin in the presentation.
Okay. All right. Because you mostly talk about Bitcoin. But anyways, my question is about the cheapness of transactions. I know you mentioned Lightning Network, but I don't know if you talked about it, maybe I missed it, but the issue with Lightning Network is that, from what I understand, the way it works is that you open a channel, sort of, right? And then the transactions there are off the chain and they're cheaper, but then in the end of the day, you still need to close it, and that's when you need to pay still the Bitcoin transaction fees, which are like, I remember once trying to transfer something that cost like €9, which was more than what I wanted to transfer in the first place. So, I mean, it's not really scalable, is it? Or am I missing something?
But as you were saying, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I mean, it's ridiculous to be Bitcoin maximalist when you have so many blockchains with so many possibilities. Bitcoin is good for one thing. You understand? The store of value. Lightning Network is just a layer 2 that is trying to give this store of value a little bit more of a use. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now we have a lot of blockchains that can be used for this with a lot less of a transaction fee. Like ICP right now, transaction fee of ICP is like 0.0001 ICP, which is like not even a penny. You understand what I'm trying to say? There is plenty of these blockchains that can be used for this thing. At the end of the day, depends on what is going to be accepted. Because if you see all the, because as you were saying, I'm talking about Bitcoin because the presentation is about Bitcoin against banks. Because Bitcoin is, you know, the first bull that breaks the barrier. But everything that follows is a lot of blockchains that have a different kind of utility. There is XRP, which is actually for payments, right? But in the same time, you have Ethereum, which is a smart contract layer 1. What I'm trying to tell you is all these blockchains, they have their, like strong sides and weak sides. Depends which one of them is going to be accepted for what. So we're going to get to the point where the shop will decide what's the best way. You know, understand? That's what I'm trying to say. And these systems like the ISO 20022 allows you to practically send from XRP to Yen, from Yen to Avalanche, from Avalanche to Cardano, from Cardano to USD. You understand what I'm trying to say? So makes it everything so easy to actually be transferred in a different kind of type of value. So you know how? There was the guy from Simply Staking, I mean, he explained it perfectly. We're at the beginning. We haven't even scratched the surface of the potential of this technology. So mass adoption is coming. Only 4% of the people in the world actually own cryptocurrency. 4%. Can you imagine how much is ahead of us, right?
The guy from Simply Staking, by the way, Simply Staking is a blockchain infrastructure project based in Malta, run by Maltese engineers, and it's a company that is supporting our meetups here. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. I never say this because I'm just silly, but thanks a lot to Simply Staking. They're not here today, but try to Google them. Also, thanks to WH Partners. They are a law firm that are also supporting us. Someone is here. Alex was just asking a question. He works for WH Partners, so thank you for them as well. Also, okay guys, you don't need to clap. I'm just saying, like, there's the Bit Research. They are always on our poster because they support us. And the Bit Research, they do research into DeFi, and that's really where you can learn advanced stuff if you want to get involved. We are, by the way, here at Soho office, and Soho, do you know what Soho is? Do you know what this place is, where you are right now? It's a co-working space. In the first, second, and third floor, they have a spa, they have a gym, and offices for people to work. Here on the roof terrace, the fourth floor, it's the event location. So if you ever look for a place where you can work with other creative people, go here, talk to us, we have a discount for you, and check it out. Now you can clap. Okay, sorry about that. Also like us on Twitter, please.
Get the name.
You have more questions? Up with the hands if there's a question. Okay, we are decentralized. Pass on the microphone. Perfect.
Yes, hello. Thank you for your presentation. Unfortunately, we still have to deal with banks in order to cash out.
Microphone.
It's on, huh?
Don't worry.
So you can hear it. Okay, unfortunately, we still have to deal with banks. And we still have to pay our mortgages, still have to pay this and that, and you do your investments. Where do I go when you want to cash out? Because in Malta, it's not really a nice place to bank if you have crypto. Do you have any idea where you can go in order to get at least a decent treatment as a person? Yeah.
No, but actually this is not a financial, this is literally structural advice. I'm going to be honest with you. For example, I'm using Revolut. You can imagine most of you know what's Revolut, right? Revolut is a crypto-friendly bank. Again, at the end of the day, it's up to you, because most of what I'm going to tell you is what I do. For example, I have a Ledger, right? Ledger has an actual debit card coming with, you can actually order, that is parallel with the actual Ledger. So you don't, as I was saying, you don't even need to sell them. So practically, when you want to buy something, you just can put yourself an amount that you need on the debit card has their own wallet, right? So if you go to the bank, when you're using the card, it actually withdraws the exact amount and it sells the crypto on the market.
That's small amount.
Exactly. But if you need to go big,
Big.
let's
Say I want to cash out because I made $1 million in profit.
for this, I'm going to be honest with you, Malta has zero tax for investors. Did you know that?
But if he's looking for a bank, who will take the money?
Bank? No, Maltese bank, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I'm going to be honest with you. I have HSBC. I went and I actually sat down and I asked the cashier. I'm saying, your bank in China right now is selling Bitcoin. HSBC in China is selling Bitcoin and Ethereum. Over there, not in China, in Hong Kong, but still China. So on your account, you can have Bitcoin and Ethereum. Over here, she says, what? What? Crypto? What is that? I was like, but okay, forget about that part. I'm saying, can I transfer an amount of money that I have? For example, I sold on Binance right now, and I transfer it via, because most of these centralized exchanges allows you to actually transfer out money, depending what you want to send them, right? She says to me, no, it's going to be blocked immediately. But you guys, as a country, have zero tax for investors for crypto. Please.
Just a disclaimer. I'm saying you should, it's not necessarily zero tax. It's not necessarily.
More than 1 year, if you're investing and you're not selling.
I know what you mean, but not necessarily. There is remittance basis, and there is, you can't just say blanket statement without taxing like that.
Okay, again, this is just what the country is saying, not me. Again, at the end of the day, we're just discussing how you can do it.
I work in tax, and I would suggest not saying blanket statement.
Oh, I think you need to do a presentation about this. Everybody wants to hear about this. You need to do a
And
presentation.
he will, in the end of
Guys,
March,
let's see
we have
hands who want to
scheduled.
hear about taking out money.
I'm looking for a meme, but I cannot find it. But do you remember the movie Matrix?
Sure.
There's Morpheus who's giving you the truth. And there's a meme, I cannot find it right now, but the meme goes like this. Imagine Morpheus, and he goes like, Neo, what if you ask him, like, I made $1 million in Bitcoin, I want to sell, I want to cash out. He goes like, Neo, what if I told you one day you don't even have to sell? Because then Bitcoin is going to be the natural payment system.
It's the same subject.
We have one last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Last question here.
Okay, it's nearly connected.
Last question.
Okay, so I'll state a point. Last week, Binance sent us SMS, okay, like why you send this transaction. The reason of sending it's 10,000 USDT only.
Okay.
It's like KYC.
Yes, true. True, they're getting there.
We are nearly centralized like this.
True.
I don't want to give reason for this.
Yes, you're right. And again, at the end of the day, using central exchanges is not different than using banks. Guys, why it was invented? We are not changing anything. We're just using central exchanges which are actual banks. At the end of the day, if you need to use something like this, again, this is not a financial advice, I'm just telling you what I do. I never keep my crypto on any central exchanges. If they have a limit, use a smaller amount. Send 2,000, then send 2,000 again. What I'm trying to say is make your life easy because FTX happened, Celsius happened, before Mt. Gox happened. When you're keeping these things on a central exchange, there is no difference than keeping them in a bank. When it collapses, because money on a screen is not your money. Money in your wallet is your money. So at the end of the day, never use this as much as you can. Like use it only to do the basic transactions, get out of it. I have several Ledger, Elipal, blah, blah, blah. You keep everything on them and you sleep nice. You don't worry if it collapses. But at the end of the day, this is the rule. Because you know how if you go to a shop, they tell you this is the rules of the shop. Try maybe to use decentralized exchanges. Because sometimes the actual wallet allows you to buy from the bank. The wallet, let's say you have a Ledger, you can buy straight from the bank. You use debit card and you buy. Try something like that. You have to find a way. Unfortunately, so far it's still not mass adoption. When it comes, it's going to be a lot easier. Now you need to find the ways, unfortunately.
And where there's a will, there's a way. Antonio, thank you very much. This was an amazing presentation. Before you leave, I just want to say one more thing about next week. Next week, we are going to be here, but we have a collaboration with Tech Connect. Now, this is about technology and business professionals. Unfortunately, there will be an entrance fee. But if you come to me or send a message in the Telegram group, we are going to put you specifically on the VIP list, and there's no entrance fee for any Crypto members. So remember that, and maybe see you next week. Thank you very much for tonight.